Yo guys, it's Rejected, and E3, the biggest gaming convention of the year, happened a couple weeks ago. Tons of new news about games have been announced, and also a bunch of news regarding the future of gaming. So I wanted to basically make a video telling you guys what I liked about each conference. Let's get into it. Now, initially, I was gonna rip Nintendo a new fucking asshole because I was very pissed that they were not going to show any other new games for the Wii U besides the new Zelda. I mean, why would they do that? Nintendo hasn't been in the best fucking condition for a very long time now, at least when we're talking about their home consoles, because the 3DS is doing great. Wii U sales are pretty shit though, and while they still do make awesome first party games for it, they are few and far between. Hell, it's gonna be close to 5 years after the launch of the Wii U when Zelda Breath of the Wild comes out. Point is, Nintendo's first party games have not been coming out regularly enough, so it doesn't make sense why they'd only show one game when everyone wants more than that. But I honestly have to say that the Breath of Wild took my breath away. Ever since Skyward Sword came out on the Wii, I've wanted to play a full-fledged Zelda game built for the Wii U from the ground up, and Breath of the Wild is definitely gonna be in my library of games. The music, the atmosphere, the gameplay, it just looks beautiful. In fact, it reminds me a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn now that I think of it, playing as someone who's exploring the ruins of a civilization that has disappeared. The gameplay looks a lot more modern, weapons deteriorate the more you use them, Link can finally jump, you can climb pretty much anything, Link has a stamina bar, the world looks fucking huge, and it looks like it's filled with things to explore. It may sound weird when I say this, but the world just seems real. All the little details of rundown buildings and guardians that have been dormant for years. I'm just excited for the game, and while I'm still pissed off that Nintendo didn't show anything else for the Wii U, in the wise words of Master Keiji Inafune, the creator of Mighty No. 9, it's better than nothing. Bethesda's conference was also pretty good. They're bringing back Quake, the super OG shooter that shaped the competitive FPS genre back in the day. If only some other company would take notes out of Bethesda's book and release new versions of franchise beloved by millions and millions of people. Besides that, they also announced Prey, which is a survival horror game where you play as a human being who is experimented on daily. It's a remake of the entire franchise of Prey and is being made by the very talented people at Arcane, so hopefully it turns out to be a good game. You can't say Arcane without bringing up Dishonored. Now, if you don't know what Dishonored is, I feel very sorry for you because you are missing out. Dishonored is one of the best stealth games I've ever played. The combat, the movement, the abilities, and equally important, the environment, all help the game feel so immersive. And I've been waiting for so long at even the slightest clip of gameplay, and Bethesda did not disappoint the C3 with an almost 20-minute gameplay demo of Dishonored 2. It looks amazing. All the new abilities you get with Emily, and the fact that you can still play the game as Corvo from the previous game means that the replayability in this game is gonna be crazy. The game looks great, and even though the atmosphere is completely different from the darkness and grittiness of Dishonored 1, it still looks very promising. All the different ways you can go about completing a mission, and all the different powers you have. I mean, for fuck's sake, there is a time travel ability that is one of the fucking coolest gameplay mechanics I've seen in a video game. It's so hard to describe that I'm just gonna show you guys a clip.
The lenses of the outsider's timepiece, you can see the alternate timeline. This is useful for solving puzzles, as you've seen, but it can also be used to avoid or take down enemies. You can watch enemies in the alternate timeline and then step through to execute your plans.
See how fucking awesome that is? Ubisoft actually had a bunch of games to show off the C3. Star Trek VR, Just Dance 2017, Ghost Recon Wildlands, but only 2 games really interested me. They were Watch Dogs 2 and South Park: The Fractured But Whole. First off with Watch Dogs 2. I beat the first Watch Dogs a couple years ago, and though it wasn't really a bad game, it certainly didn't live up to the huge amount of hype behind it. The hacking was a pretty cool element of gameplay, but it felt like it wasn't really fully fleshed out, and Aiden Pierce, the protagonist, was a pretty boring person. However, Ubisoft looks like they're trying to improve upon the previous Watch Dogs in a bunch of new ways. The story now is about population control and how politicians are trying to influence people by gaining their personal information, and you play as Marcus Holloway, a young black black man working with his friends at DedSec to try and take these politicians down. The gameplay seems to have a lot more variety than Watch Dogs 1, as you have a lot of new gadgets and ways to hack. There's also a new parkour system which looks fucking cool, and Ubisoft has said that you can play the entire game without killing a single person. The supporting cast also looks like it has more personality than the previous Watch Dogs, so yeah, I am actually pretty hyped for Watch Dogs 2. It's looking pretty good. Secondly, one of the games that I'm extremely looking forward to playing is South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Now you guys don't know this about me, but I'm a huge fan of South Park. It's a show that's very near and dear to my heart, and I've been watching it for many years now. I love it very much. Last year, I decided to play South Park: The Stick of Truth, the predecessor to Fractured But Whole, and I loved it. It was such a fun game. The turn-based combat, the RPG elements, and the story, they were all very faithful to what the show is about. And it was so much fucking fun that it actually turned out to be one of my favorite games of all time. And the trailers for The Fractured But Whole show that the game is still fucking awesome and also at the same time funny as fuck. So I can't wait to play it. EA's conference was pretty decent. A lot of self-promotion about their EA Access program that I really don't give a shit about. What I do give a shit about, however, is these three. I'm hyped as hell for Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect 3 was my first Mass Effect and I fell in love with it. Every character felt real, and so did the worlds you explored. And even though BioWare didn't share a lot of info about Andromeda, from what they've said, it looks like it's going to be on a much larger scale than all the previous Mass Effect games. But for real, BioWare, you need to show some gameplay. It's been a while since this game got announced and we aren't getting any more patient. Timefall 2. Now, Timefall 1 had the shit hyped out of it. It was the quote-unquote COD killer. And even though it was a really fun game, it just didn't have enough content for it to survive. It looks like the guys at Respawn have listened to their fans, however. Based on what we've seen and what Respawn Entertainment has told us, Timefall 2 is going to have a lot more variety and content in it. They're going to introduce a bunch more new abilities, weapons, perks, and even different kinds of titans. They're also going to add a full-fledged story mode to the game, which is also good news considering that the last one had pretty much no story at all. Oh, and you get fucking grappling hooks, guys. And one of the titans has a fucking sword. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped for it. And finally, the icing on the fucking cake, Battlefield 1. Now I don't need to tell any of you guys how good this game looks, but I will anyways. Battlefield 1 is hands down one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. I wouldn't be lying if I said this game is the closest thing we've gone to actual CGI. Have you fucking looked at it? This shit looks better than real life. I also really like the classic feel DICE are giving Battlefield 1 with all the new weapons, vehicles, and even classes. The atmosphere, the battle cries, and even the sound, they all look like they're going to add a lot more immersion to the game. Except for the robotic sounding announcer lady.
We are losing objective butter.
So here's to hoping that Battlefield 1 turns out to be a fucking awesome EA shooter, because we all know it's been a while since we had one of those. The PC game show is actually pretty fucking boring. The head of AMD came on for a couple minutes to vaguely talk about their new series of graphics cards coming out later this year, and besides that, there were a bunch of indie type RTS games which I'm personally not really interested in. One thing that I did find interesting though was Lawbreakers. It's a really mobile team shooter with zero gravity gameplay, and it's made by Bosky Productions, which by the way is headed by Cliff Bleszinski, the former head of Epic Games. You know, the guys who made the Unreal Engine and Gears of War. They've had a bunch of alphas over the past couple of weeks, and I still haven't been able to get a fucking code. So if any one of you guys over at Bosky Productions, you know, none of you are probably watching this, but if you do, give me a fucking code for fuck's sake! Microsoft's conference actually surprised me. While there wasn't anything extremely exciting announced, the one thing that I really liked about Microsoft's conference was the push for integration of Windows and Xbox as one platform. Like seriously guys, Gears of War 4, Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, ReCore, Forza Horizon 3, the list goes on and on. All these awesome looking games previously touted as Xbox One exclusives are also coming to PC. Microsoft is finally realizing the user base of PC gamers that generate huge amounts of money, and they are capitalizing on it. In fact, I'm willing to bet that almost all Xbox exclusives from now on will also be on PC. I cannot fucking wait for the next Halo to come to PC. Honestly, I think it's kind of funny how the Xbox E3 event had more interesting PC games than the actual PC event itself. Besides that though, Microsoft announced Project Scorpio, a new 4K capable console that has 6 fucking teraflops of power. To give you guys an idea of what kind of power we're talking about, Microsoft has actually come out and said that the Project Scorpio is 4.5 times more powerful than the Xbox One, so it's definitely going to be a beast. It's releasing next winter, so it won't be too long before we know more about it. I'm actually planning on making a video on all these next-gen consoles pretty soon, talking about how they're going to affect, the industry and stuff, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Sony's conference was also pretty good. I mean, it was just game after game after game. Unlike in the other conferences, developers would do little to no talking. They'd just come up, play their game, and then get the fuck off. And a bunch of games got announced that I'm pretty hyped for. The new Spider-Man game being made by Insomniac Games, the folks who made Ratchet & Clank and Sunset Overdrive, the new God of War, which looks fucking gorgeous by the way. The relationship between Kratos and his new son is also an interesting dynamic which I want to know more about. Rocksteady announced a Batman Arkham VR experience coming later to PlayStation VR, and also Hideo Kojima came on and showed this. Yeah, I don't know either. There was also Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a game I'm very interested in. The story is set in a post-apocalyptic world where humans are close to extinct and nature has taken over most of the world. Kinda similar to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as I said earlier. However, in this world, there are robotic type animals that still roam the land and no one knows where they came from. You play as Aloy, an outcast from her tribe, to try and figure out how humans ended up where they are now. The gameplay is similar to that of a third-person shooter, but it does look like there's variety in the ways you can take down your enemies. Besides that, the thing that I'm most hyped and happy about is Crash. Sony actually came out on stage and announced that the first 3 Crash games that came out on PlayStation 1 are going to be remade and remastered exclusively for the PS4. So to give you guys an idea of my gaming background, the first 2 games that I ever played, that I ever touched, were Crash Bandicoot and Gran Turismo. And Crash Bandicoot was a game that I loved very much. It's a game that I can't remember now, but I'm pretty sure I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into Crash games. Crash Bash, Crash 1, Crash Warped. I remember I couldn't get Crash 2 to work, but Crash is a franchise very near and dear to my heart. He's kind of a fallen icon, but hopefully these remasters can revive the Crash franchise and bring him back to the popularity that he once had. So yeah guys, those were my thoughts on E3. I hope I didn't hype these games up too much or, make them look good when they haven't even come out. I'm just extremely hyped and I just want to get my enthusiasm out there. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to like the video, maybe subscribe if you're new, and if you're so kind, maybe you could share it, tweet about it, or whatever the fuck you want to do. Just do it. Tell me, what did you guys think of E3? What was your favorite part? What was your favorite game? And which one was your favorite conference? Tell me in the comment section below. I'll be sure to reply to all the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, peace out.
Competition. It's in common, but you're not. It's just a lot of victims slaughter to my composition. Nigga, I was on a mission, living in Nevada, hottest saunas, eating chili pepper sweaters, and a lot of friction sitting on the sun. It was written, I'm the one. Nigga, if I rule the world, they get the messages in blood. Heaven sent and bring them hell just like a then I'm done. Ever since I dropped Relina, I was even with the Huns. Bitch, until of that track, when I'm spilling that crack, my militia raid a villa.